There you go, Terrence. So last week we spent time looking at the purpose of government and why we need it and why people participate in it. This week, we're going to look at the different levels of government and the different levels of power that come with those governmental bodies, okay? I'm very excited to tell you that at the end of the week, we will actually be having a council person from the state of Indiana come to speak with you guys live on Zoom. So a government official on Friday is going to be coming to speak with you, and we're going to have the opportunity to interview them. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're prepared for that conversation with her and that we're able to tell her about the things that we've learned. So we want to make sure that we can come up with good questions for her. Okay, so actively be thinking about what questions you have about the information that you learned today so that we can talk about them with Councilperson Piper. Jessica Piper is her name, and she's going to come speak with us on Friday. Okay, all right, kiddos. You have an assignment that you are going to do with me today on Seesaw, and it has just unlocked to you. So click that Activities tab again to refresh it from your second steps, and you will see an assignment called Levels and Branches of Government. It says with your teacher, click the add response, and then you can see in the directions, we're going to do slides 1 through 7 together, okay? We're actually going to do one of the slides out of order. On slide 7, there is a video. I want you guys to watch that video first so that you have some background information that's activated before we begin to read our text today, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and go to slide 7, but you can go ahead and go to slide 1. So click on that add response. And here we go. Your learning target for today is on slide 1. I will go ahead and play that for you. You don't need to play it because then you'd be hearing your screen and my screen, and that'd be chaos. But here are our goals for today.
Today's learning target is to explain that the United States has 3 levels of government: local, state, and national, also known as federal, and that each level has special duties and responsibilities.
All right, so you've seen this one here, the federal or national, that's the whole country, right? We know that the president is in charge of that. Then we have smaller communities like states, and there is a person in charge of those as well. Then we have even smaller communities such as the one you live in, the city of Lawrence, and there's a person in charge of that as well. So we're going to talk about those different levels today and the powers that they have, okay? So like I shared with you, slide 7 is a video. I'm actually going to play that video first to activate some of your background knowledge and to get you familiar with the concepts that we're going to be talking about today, okay? So here is an explanation of the 3 branches of government.
Welcome to Kids Academy.
Hi, boys and girls. Do you know how laws are made? There are 3 branches of government in the United States. Each branch has a special responsibility in the lawmaking process. The legislative branch makes the laws. The United States Congress runs the legislative branch. Congress members introduce bills, which are ideas for new laws. A bill cannot become a law until it is approved by the executive branch. The President of the United States is the leader of the executive branch. The President can approve or veto a bill. When a bill is vetoed, it is rejected. When the President signs a bill, it becomes a law. The executive branch also enforces laws to make sure that people follow them. The judicial branch is made up of courts and judges. The U.S. Supreme Court is the highest court in the judicial branch. Members of the judicial branch review laws to make sure they are fair. It's trivia time. Let's see what you know about the 3 branches of government. Question 1. Which branch of the United States government is responsible for making laws? A. The judicial branch. B. The legislative branch. C. The executive branch. If you need to think about it, pause the video. Go back and peek at the lesson again if you need more help. The answer is B. The legislative branch makes the laws. Great job. Question 2. Who is the leader of the executive branch? A. The President. B. The Supreme Court. C. Congress. Correct. The answer is A. The President of the United States is the leader of the executive branch. The executive branch enforces laws to make sure that people follow them. Let's try one more. Question 3. Who reviews laws in the judicial branch? A. Congress members. B. American citizens. C. Court judges. Yes. The answer is C. The judicial branch reviews laws to make sure they are fair. Great job. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
All right, so those are the purposes or the functions of government. Each level, national, state, and local, has those branches, and we're going to investigate them today. So now I'm going to ask you to go to slide 2. Slide 2, 3, 4, and 5 show you pieces of text that we are going to read today, okay? We're going to start on slide 2, and our directions told us that we can click the link to have the text read to us. So I've pulled that up. I'm going to click play and let this text read to us. I want you following along with your eyes on your screen, okay? So you're going to be looking at your seesaw and tracking with us as we read, okay? Here is the information that you need to know.
Another kind of government is a democracy.
Here we go.
Introduction. What is a government? A government is a group of people who make laws or rules and provide services for a country, a state, or a local community. There are different kinds of governments. One kind of government is a monarchy. In a monarchy, a king or queen leads the country. Long ago, monarchies ruled many countries. The kings and queens were powerful. Most other people had little or no power. People began to see this type of government as unfair.
Okay.
King George III.
There we go. We do not have a monarchy. In fact, as we learned, the reason the United States was created was to get away from a monarchy, to leave a king, right? The King of England used to be in charge of the colonies that we talked about. Then the people in the colonies said, we don't want a king anymore. We want a new kind of government. And that's what was created, okay? We're going to skip this little bit about King George. We're going to go here where it says another kind. So take a look under I voted. This is the kind of government that we have, and the word is called democracy. Here's what that means.
Another kind of government is a democracy. This is a common form of government today. The government of the United States is a representative democracy. The people have the power. They vote for their leaders or representatives. If the people do not like what their leaders do, they can vote for different leaders. Democratic governments are organized into different kinds: local, state, and national. The U.S. government has 3 branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. At each branch and level, people have different responsibilities and different kinds of power.
Okay.
Every 4 years, people in the United States vote for a president. Sometimes the current president wins a second term.
And as you guys know, we just had an election year. Joe Biden just won the election. So that is a change in our president. We also recently went through elections for our state governor. Okay. We're going to talk about who's in charge of the state of Indiana. And this governor actually won another term. Governor Holcomb was re-elected to continue being in charge of the state of Indiana. Okay. So each level, the whole country, our state, and then the cities that we live in, has all three of those branches: executive, judicial, and legislative. Okay. Go ahead and on your seesaw, go to slide 3. When we are done with this slide, I'm going to send you into breakout rooms, and you are going to answer this question. What is the federal level of government? Okay, so we're getting ready to read about the federal level. What is the federal level? How do you explain federal to someone? Okay, you're going to be answering that in a breakout room. So listen carefully. I'm going to go ahead and go to mine over here so it will read to us. All right, what is the federal government? Here we go.
Chapter 1. Levels and Branches of Government. There are 3 levels of government in the United States: federal, state, and local. The federal level is the government for the whole country. Each of the 50 states has its own government. So does every local community within a state. The federal level. The federal government is divided into 3 branches. They are the legislative, executive, and judicial. Each branch has specific powers and responsibilities. The legislative branch makes laws for the whole country. At the federal level, the legislative branch is made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Together, these 2 groups are known as Congress. People in each state vote for people from their state to represent them in Congress.
All right, what is the federal government? That is your question. I'm going to send you into some breakout rooms to discuss for 1 minute. What is the federal? Question was, what is the federal government? I'm really hoping that y'all use the text in this nice picture right here. Look at this picture to help you out. What is the federal government, Terrence?
So first, the citizens have to vote, and then the member of Congress. Then the Senate, and then the Senate votes are the ones that are actually going to be voted in to decide who is the president.
Citizens do create the federal government with their votes. They choose who is in power. The Senate is part of the federal government, yes. So the senators who work in our state capitol to represent our states are part of the federal government. Capital was a big clue for you. So what level is the federal government? Is that the whole country? Is that just one state? Or is that just a city? What level is the federal government? Steve, federal government, what is it? The whole country, a state, or a city?
Well, being the one with the most power, it must be the whole country.
Excellent. Federal government represents the whole country. Very good. I encourage you to take a look at these graphics that you're going to see today on your slides. This will help you with your independent work later. Okay, so go back and read about the federal government branches and see who is in them. All right. You are now going on to slide 4. Slide 4, we are going to continue to learn about the federal government's powers, okay? What is each branch in charge of, okay? What does each branch do? I am going to send you into breakout rooms to answer this question. What is the difference between the executive and the judicial branch. Okay, what is the difference between the executive branch and the judicial branch? That is the question that you will be answering in your breakout rooms when we are done reading this page. Okay, all right, so I'm going to click play here and you are listening. Oops, apologies, I skipped it. I didn't mean to. There we go.
We can't hear.
Oh, look at that. I didn't share my sound. I don't know why that went back.
The
Okay, there you go. Sorry, here we go. Difference between executive and judicial branch.
The executive branch makes sure that the laws Congress passes are enacted. The President of the United States is the head of the executive branch. The Vice President gives advice to and helps the President. The President and Vice President are voted into office by the people.
Okay, so we just read about the executive branch, and that first sentence it says that they make sure the laws Congress passes are enacted. So they don't make the laws, but they make sure they happen. Okay, we also read that the President and the Vice President are in the executive branch. Here comes the judicial branch. What is the difference? Listen.
The judicial branch is made up of courts. The United States Supreme Court is the highest court in the country. The President appoints justices, judges, to the Supreme Court. The justices of the Supreme Court decide whether laws Congress makes abide by the U.S. Constitution.
Okay, so now we've heard that the judicial branch has courts, okay, judges that are making that up. My question to you is, what is the difference between the executive and judicial branches? You're going to go into your breakout rooms to have those conversations. What is the difference between the executive and judicial branches? And go. All righty, you were asked for the difference between the executive branch and the judicial branch. What is a difference between these? How are they different from each other? Josh, what do you think? How is the executive branch different from the judicial branch? And you can feel free to look back at that text, kiddo, right here. Executive and judicial. Make sure, kiddos, you're taking time to make sure you have an answer if you are called on.
Miss Sousa,
Hold on, please. Josh, who's in charge of the executive branch?
The President of the United States.
President of the United States is in charge of that executive branch. Who's makes up the judicial branch? Who's in that judicial branch? I'm going to clean my camera. There we go.
A Supreme Court.
Yeah, the Supreme Court. So a difference is who's in charge, right? President's in charge of the executive branch. The Supreme Court is in charge of the judicial branch. So there's multiple people in charge of that judicial branch. Awesome. So who's in power is a difference. Terrence, what's the difference between the executive and judicial branch?
it was the same answer as Josh's, but did you know that Joe Biden was the vice president last president?
I did, yes. Joe Biden was the vice president for Obama. And a lot of times you will see vice presidents go on later to run for full presidents as well. Excellent. Good connection. Thank you, Terrence. All right. So executive branch, judicial branch, there are some differences. Last one we're going to read together. Go ahead to slide 5. We're going to look at the state level and the local level now. So our state is Indiana. Our local level is Indianapolis. Okay, so state and local level. That's what we're going to take a look at now. Go ahead and follow along with your eyes.
The state level. State governments are modeled after the federal government. Each state has a legislative, executive, and judicial branch. The legislative branch is made up of representatives from around the state. They make laws for the state. The head of the executive branch is the governor. The judicial branch is made up of courts in the state. Each state also has a constitution. State constitutions list the rights guaranteed or promised to the citizens of a state. State constitutions cannot take away a right guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution. The Texas State Capitol building is located in Austin, Texas.
All right, so this is
The local level.
Sorry, here we go. This is an example of Texas's state capitol building. You know that our state capitol building is in downtown Indianapolis, okay? So what this has told us is that there is not a president of Indiana. There is a governor of Indiana, okay? Our governor at the time happens to be a man by the name of Holcomb, okay? His last name is Holcomb. Governor Holcomb is our current governor, and he is in charge of making sure that our laws for the state are carried out, okay? Here's our local level. So this is going to be smaller of a city.
The local level. Governments divide all states into areas. In most states, these areas are called counties. Alaska calls them boroughs. Louisiana calls them parishes. States also have towns and cities. States give certain powers to the local governments that run counties and towns and cities. Local governments can make rules for their area. They can make rules about parking and garbage pickup. They can even make rules about how many pets can live in one home. Local rules are called ordinances. The local government for a farming community might make a rule about the kind of bug sprays farmers can use.
All right.
The local government for a city might make a rule about where delivery trucks can park.
I just missed that one down there. Okay. So local government is in charge of a lot of the rules that affect you directly. Okay. For example, when I was living in my apartment complex, they said we couldn't have more than 2 animals inside of there. Okay. I had 3 pets at the time. So I had to have one of those pets live with my parents until I could get into a place that would allow more pets. That is a local level law. Okay. So we have a local level called a mayor. All right. Indianapolis has a mayor. Lawrence also has a mayor. So just like this said, local and state level can't change national level. Okay. So if the country says you have to pay taxes, Indiana cannot say, no, you don't. Okay. National laws have to be followed by everybody. If there are other rules that haven't been made, that's where these smaller governments can come in and make those. All right. Okay. So we have read our text. What questions, concerns, comments, connections do we have about that information so far? Questions, concerns, comments, connections, anything? All right. Let's go ahead and go to slide 6, okay? We watched this video already. Here is a short teaching reminder before you get to work.
In your reading today, you learned that the United States government has 3 levels: the federal level, the state level, and the local level. Each one of these levels has 3 branches to it: the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. Watch the video, 3 Branches of Government, to learn what each of these branches does.
All right, and we've done that. So you will notice federal is larger, right? Federal is for everybody who lives in the country of the United States. Okay, from Alaska to Hawaii, they have to follow federal rules. Okay. Then you have a medium section called the state level. What might be a rule in Indiana might not be a rule or a law inside of Kentucky. Okay, so we have smaller sections of government. Then there's even tinier ones down here at the local level, our different counties or smaller cities such as Indianapolis and Lawrence. Okay.
The federal government or the national government is in charge of things that pertain to the whole country. State governments like Indiana and Georgia and New York and Florida and any of the 50 states have responsibilities that are specific to their state. Local governments take care of things that are only for their area. Below is a video that explains this in great detail. It talks mainly about Georgia, but as mentioned, all of the states have the same types of responsibilities as are indicated by this video.
Okay, so this is a graphic or a diagram to show you about the different levels of that government. Okay, here, as Ms. Thaxton just shared, this is about Georgia, but we're going to take a look at it because it's still the same relative information. Okay, so what you learn here is still true for Indiana, it's just in a different location. Okay, so here's how the levels work.
In case you hadn't noticed, the United States of America is a big country, and Georgia is a big state inside this big country. Sometimes running big things like the United States and the big things inside of the big things like Georgia can be a little confusing. But we're here to help, so sit back, kick off your shoes, and when we are all done here, we hope it won't seem confusing at all. Government surrounds us at all levels. It can be local, like your neighborhood planning unit, or even bigger, like your city council or school board. Bigger still, like state government, and then humongous, like the entire country. But while all of these levels have different, overlapping boundaries, they all work together to serve you. Today, we're going to focus on the top two levels, federal and state. Here's how it works. I'm sure you've heard of the three branches of government: executive, legislative, and judicial, that together are designed to provide checks and balances on each other, basically to make sure that no one branch becomes too powerful. This three-branch concept is implemented in one way or another at pretty much every level of government. The first level, the federal level, makes laws and rules for the whole country. This includes things like coining money, interstate highways, foreign policy, laws regulating and overseeing large national initiatives in things like education, federal policy for public benefits, crime, and health. One of the main things the federal government does is it makes lots and lots of decisions about how to dole out federal tax dollars to other levels of government and programs. Much of the decision-making at the federal level takes place in Washington, D.C., and much of it takes place on or near Capitol Hill. The legislative branch is comprised of two chambers, the United States Senate, which is overseen by the Vice President, and the United States House of Representatives, which is overseen by the Speaker of the House. Together, they are referred to as Congress. In Washington, D.C., Georgia is represented by 2 United States senators, like every other state in the country, and 14 congressional representatives. The senators each represent the entire state. The congressmen or women each represent a district containing about 700,000 people. That means that each citizen has 2 United States senators and 1 congressman representing them in Washington, D.C. Congress is considered a full-time legislature because they work throughout the year. At the federal level, any bills or budgets passed by both the U.S. Senate and the House of Representatives must be signed by the President of the United States in order to become law. The second level of government is the state level. States make laws and rulings for the people in their state. These policies are similar to the federal ones, but are more narrow and focused on the particular needs of the people in the state, and the process can differ from state to state. This includes things like policies for hospitals, state transportation, education, implementation of public benefits, and crime. The state gets to make decisions about how to spend state tax dollars. One thing to know here is that when federal and state laws conflict, federal law always overrides the state law, just like state law overrides local law. At the state level, here in Georgia, much of the decision-making takes place at or near the state capitol in Atlanta, affectionately referred to as the Gold Dome. The governor is the head of the executive branch, and our legislative branch is comprised of two chambers: the State Senate, which is overseen by the Lieutenant Governor, and the House of Representatives, which is overseen by the Georgia Speaker of the House. Together, these bodies are referred to as the General Assembly. The State Senate has 56 members representing districts with populations of about 173,000 each. The House has 180 members, and each of them represents districts with a little under 54,000 residents each. Our state lawmakers are in legislative session about 3 to 4 months at the beginning of each year, and so are considered a part-time legislature. At this level, for a bill to become a law, it must be passed by both the Senate and the House and then signed by the governor, or remain unsigned for 40 days, in which case it becomes law automatically. The only state bill that is required to be passed each year is a balanced state budget. The rest are gravy. So that about covers it. Now you can put your shoes back on, maybe feel a little more knowledgeable, and have a great day. Thanks for watching.
All right, so we've seen just another example of state and federal government, okay? You're getting ready to hear about what you're going to do on your independent work, okay? If you click on View Instructions with me, you'll be able to see down here on independent work. It says on slide 8, you're going to read or click play to listen to the instructions for your independent work on slide 9. On slide 9, you're going to use the drag tool and information from the videos and readings to drag each government description or responsibility to the correct level of government. Okay, so on slide 9, you're doing a sort, right? Has 3 branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. You're going to decide, is that all 3 levels of government? Is that just the federal? Is that just the state? Or is that just local? Okay, so you're going to take each one of these statements and you're going to put it in the correct section of the sort. Okay, questions or concerns about that? Okay, then it says in your instructions on slide 10 to follow the directions on the slide to complete the extension activities. So on slide 10, you will see a brain pop and a game, a government game for you to play during your work time today. All right. So this is what you are going to complete. Listen to the directions on slide 8. On slide 9, complete the sort into all, federal, state, or local. And on slide 10, watch the video and play the game for your independent work time. Okay, this is your assignment for today.